Hello, welcome to dedoc and welcome to Doc Day. Today, November 14, is World Diabetes Day. And today, 100 years ago, Frederick Banting celebrated his 100th birthday. Now, I'm sure he received a lot of gifts for his birthday, or maybe not yet, because he wasn't very famous back then. But just a couple of days or weeks before his birthday, he made a gift to us, to all of us, people with diabetes around the world. He discovered insulin. A discovery that made him the youngest medical doctor until today to ever receive the Nobel Prize for Medicine. His research, his discovery back in 1921 has saved millions of lives ever since. I personally wouldn't stand here today had it not been for him, and many of you watching today wouldn't be here either. So this is why every year this day, November 14, his birthday, Frederick Banting's birthday, we celebrate World Diabetes Day. And this year, we also celebrate 100 years of his discovery, 100 years of insulin. However, celebration is the one part, but access to insulin, access to diabetes care in general, still remains a huge challenge in many parts of this world. This is why World Diabetes Day has always also been a day to raise our voices, to advocate, to raise awareness about the many unmet needs of people with diabetes around the world, especially this year, this centennial year of insulin. We at Doc Day, we at dedoc have thus decided to divide this event, this Doc Day today, into two parts. The first part will be more celebrational. It will be about celebrating our lives, about the discovery, about 100 years of insulin. The second part will be focused on access to diabetes care in what we call the Global South. This is also this year's international topic for World Diabetes Day as set by the International Diabetes Federation. Now, before we start, it is my great honor to welcome Niti Paul, President of IDF Europe, for her opening remarks. IDF Europe is co-hosting this event with us today. Niti, I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. Welcome to Doc Day.
Hi, good morning, Bastian, and good morning to all of you that are joining us today. I think it's being live streamed. Lots of people around the world are watching us. So big welcome to you from the International Diabetes Federation for Europe. And Bastian and I sit on the board of that organization together. I'm the chair, and I have a personal story to tell. My son developed diabetes when he was 3 years old. He's now 30 years old. So we as a family have lived with type 1 diabetes for over 27 years. And I hope, Javier, you're watching today. And as Bastian has said, if it hadn't been for the discovery of insulin, there's a lot of us that would be very sad people today. So we thank Banting and Best for their discovery and for the 100 years. But what now? And that's what we've been grappling with. So what does the next 100 years bring? And what are we going to see over the next 100 years? So we at IDF Europe have been looking for those innovations, those technologies, and that engagement with people with diabetes, because that's actually where the action happens. So I'm deeply grateful to Bastian and dedoc for hosting this day together with us and to reaching out to all of you that do so much for diabetes across the world. And for me, this is a personal, heartfelt thank you and deep gratitude to our member associations across Europe that do so much. We represent over 70 member associations across Europe, both professional and patient organizations, and we work together to better the lot, I think, of people with diabetes. So I'm just going to pay homage to all of you who do that work, and just share with you a few things that have been happening around the world on World Diabetes Day and the centenary of insulin, particularly in Europe. So this is just to say thank you to you. These are the things that we have found you've sent back to us. And I'm sure, and please don't be offended if I leave anybody out, because these are the people that have reached out to us and told us what they are doing. So in Bulgaria, on June 29th, you released an interview with Søren Jacobsen, the ambassador of the Kingdom of Denmark to Bulgaria, and Professor Tankova, on the history of 100 years of insulin. And that's available on Bulgarian TV. In Estonia, the Estonian Diabetes Association did a charity 5-run walk in the sports park in Tartu. In Finland, you celebrated World Diabetes Day during the week of the 8th to the 14th. They're holding a series of webinars on the themes Where Did My Diabetes Nurse Go? On the healthcare debt accumulated during COVID-19 and the effort to replace the vacancies of diabetes nurses. On the 100th years of insulin, they're celebrating with a celebratory lecture by the Diabetes Research Foundation on the 14th of November. In France, we've got webinars and Facebook live streams on the 100 years of insulin from November the 10th to the 23rd, all available on their website, and they've got 100 years of insulin's web series, testimonials for people living with diabetes. In Germany, Diabetes DE on July the 24th ran an event on the 100 years of insulin in Berlin and digitally, and the recordings are available for you. On World Diabetes Day, they're looking at the Patient Information Day for people living with diabetes, relatives, and people at risk of type 2. In Greece, we've had a World Diabetes Day webinar on prevention of people living with diabetes in COVID times. The Hellenic Diabetes Association is also running a webinar on adolescents and diabetes. In Italy, ANIAD are running a marathon, and they're also looking at a webinar and promoting diabetes awareness while traveling around the country on a camper. In Luxembourg, they have a run and an event, a run and walk event, and a participation in diabetes screening campaign. In Malta, we are seeing 100 years of insulin and World Diabetes Day webinar on access to diabetes care. In Norway, there's TV3 is broadcasting the program Beat Diabetes, The Fight for Life. In Poland, there's a webinar on If Not Now, When. In Portugal, they've been organizing a series of seminars from science to society. In Romania, a series of webinars from 8th till 13th. In Slovenia, World Diabetes Day, a series of initiatives on hanging of blue rings, lighting up 2 buildings, and also webinars that Sloda has been writing. In Spain, we've got in the city of Castellón with a campaign on awareness raising and prevention for the general population. In Sweden, there's a panel discussion on 100 years of insulin and what's next. In Switzerland, a virtual quiz about the history of insulin. In Turkey, 100 years of insulin, drawing about the centenary of insulin as an initiative for children. And they've been developing several fact sheets on diabetes, such as diabetes in travel, insulin, diabetes in children. So you can see across Europe, we've had a lot of activity. We've been running webinars ourselves as well with lots of other member associations. I've just come off a webinar with our Eastern European countries, where most of the Eastern European countries are represented today, and they are also talking about 100 years of insulin and a scientific seminar. So you can see in Europe, we are very active across Europe, but it isn't because of IDF Europe alone. This is because of our member association. So I thank you again, all our member associations, for all you do and facilitate that interaction between people with diabetes and healthcare professionals and professional associations. We continue to advocate across the world. We're about to release a blueprint on action for diabetes in the EU. I hope you guys will read it and attend our webinars as well. So congratulations on being here today, and congratulations, Bastian, for running this day so efficiently, and for all of you for attending it. We at IDF Europe thank you for your involvement, your support, and your campaigning. Thank you again.
Aniti, thank you, really. Thank you, first of all, for agreeing to co-host this Doc Day with us, with the dedoc community. But most of all, it is so great to have an organization, an umbrella organization like IDF Europe, speaking on behalf of more than 40 countries, more than 70 organizations across Europe and more. And you did such a stellar job in summarizing what's happening all over the continent. We would love to have every single event, every single organization across Europe present here at Doc Day, and every organization speaking for themselves. Of course, that's due to practical reasons just not possible. But you did an amazing job, just the alphabet of Europe, going through all these countries and telling our audience what is happening around Europe. So again, thank you for doing that. Thank you, IDF Europe, for representing all these member associations so well, for speaking on their behalf here. And as you said, IDF Europe, I'm very proud to be on that board myself. It is due to these member associations across Europe that we live and that people with diabetes can celebrate and advocate. And that's what we're going to get to over the next 2 hours. That was Niti Paul, President of IDF Europe. Thank you very much. So, How does the diabetes community, the individuals across Europe actually, how do they go about World Diabetes Day? What do they stand for? How do they celebrate? What do they advocate for? Well, we thought, let's find out. dedoc runs, as you may know, an international scholarship called the dedoc Voices program. It enables diabetes advocates from across Europe and now from across the world to attend some of the world's largest diabetes conferences, such as ATDD, EASD, and ISPAD. And it is now a network of more than 100 of these diabetes advocates, so people who stand for rights of people with diabetes across the world. So what we thought we will now do, instead of visiting all the member associations of IDF Europe, because that would be too much, we're going to call upon a couple of them across Europe first to do a kind of what we call like a Eurovision song contest, like a tour of a couple of European cities and chat a little bit about how they're celebrating World Diabetes Day. And then in the second half of this event, we're going to India, we're going to Liberia, we're going to South Africa and to Madagascar to talk about access to diabetes care in these countries with some of our dedoc voices on the ground. So let's start. And the first European capital we are going to visit is Paris, France. Andrea, can you hear me? There she is.
I can. Sorry, my light's not perfect. I'm in a sound box.
Wonderful. Andrea, it's great to see you. Andrea, you are in Paris. You are one of our very first dedoc voices. Where are you right now? What are you doing? What is happening in France, in Paris on World Diabetes Day?
Well, I was almost late for this meeting because I was speaking at another event just a few minutes ago, but I'm really excited to be here and to be speaking to you from Paris today. So as Bastian said, I'm Andrea. I've been living with type 1 diabetes for 24 years. I'm originally from Toronto, so I have a link to the birthplace of insulin. But I've been living in France for 20 years now, and I wanted to start by saying how thankful I was, for living in France, how lucky we are here in France to have great access to diabetes care. We have a very socialized medical system and access to many of the newest technologies fairly easily and fairly equitably across the board. And of course, we can always improve on how quickly a new medication or new devices get approved and come to the market. But often in France, the part of the reason for any delay that there is that we're looking for an equitable access for all. So it's really something that's been made a priority in the healthcare system here. Partly that's because we have very strong patient advocacy organizations who make sure that patients' rights are respected. There's a big quality not only on clinical outcomes, but on the quality of life for people with diabetes, and a huge movement currently on decreasing employment discrimination for people with diabetes and for people with all types of chronic conditions. So in terms of activities going on in France around World Diabetes Day, we don't have a lot of monuments that are lit up in blue, unfortunately. It's something that we're working on in Paris, but the City Hall of Paris is quite slow in getting back to us. So we'll work on that for next year to get some high-profile monuments turned blue. There's one chateau in the Vallée de la Loire, the Chateau de Cheverny, that is blue all of this week, but I don't know of any others for now. And as was said in the opening remarks about things that are going on all across Europe, the French Diabetes Federation has really kicked off this whole week of World Diabetes Day events with a conference this past week that covered a celebration of the 100 years of insulin, that covered lots of new technologies that are coming out for all types, for people with all types of diabetes. And that covered as well access to insulin around the world. And then that's being repeated with a series of web conferences that started a couple of months ago and are continuing all through the year. And then over this weekend, there are loads of activities all around France, local activities planned by associations that are linked to the French Diabetes Federation. There's a virtual race organized by the Type 1 running team along with Novo Nordisk, and so people are running on all four corners of France, 10Ks and 5K races to raise money for diabetes research. And today in Paris, there are two big conferences, all in person, which seems brand new and still a little bit strange, coming back to in-person conferences. One scientific conference for children with diabetes and their family, and where I am today at the Type 1 Family Day, which is a big day of celebration of meeting each other and sharing stories and doing activities and inspiring each other to live our best lives with diabetes.
And Andrea, the Type 1 family event you are mentioning is run by Leonore, if I'm aware, and she's another of our dedoc voices, and that's where you are right now, is that right?
That's where I am right now. I had to find a quiet space away from the conference to be able to talk to you.
So tell us a little bit, what exactly are you doing there? Type 1 family, Leonore in the next room, how many people are there, what are you doing, what are you discussing, how long is it taking place?
There are about 60 people now, and some people who have registered just for the afternoon because they were at the other scientific conference this morning. It's a series of speakers, people talking about their stories with diabetes, about books that they have written. I spoke this morning about new technologies and access to those technologies. We have a young man in France who has done a lot of huge sporting events. He did the Tour de France on his bike this summer, one day before the professional riders. And so he's 17, he lives with diabetes, and he's done an enormous job of advocating for decreasing employment discrimination for people with diabetes, showing everything that you can do and why there's no reason we shouldn't have access to certain jobs because of the word diabetes.
So it seems to me there's a fair mix of there's actions and events you can participate in, like all the running events you were mentioning. There's a bit of celebrational, a bit of informational content, but also quite a strong advocacy element.
Absolutely, and many people coming from different walks of life, and people who don't necessarily always participate in sort of the big conferences, who just have their Instagram account, and that's how they're getting information about diabetes. But it's the ability to come together physically is huge. To be able to meet other people face to face makes such a big difference as well.
Andrea, thank you very much. If this was Eurovision Song Contest, we would now vote and say 10 points for Paris, France. Thank you very much for letting us participate a little bit in your Type 1 family event. Say hello to Leonore, our other dedoc voice there, and everybody else who's participating and coming in later today. Enjoy World Diabetes Day. Go celebrate and advocate. Thank you for joining Doc Day today.
Thank you.
Now, our next visitor, here she is Daniela Donofrio from Portal Diabete, the founder of Portal Diabete in Italy. Hello, Daniela, can you hear me?
Hi, Bastian, how are you? Fine.
Very well. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Thank you.
We just heard from Andrea from France. Where are you in Italy right now?
Well, I'm in Milan, Italy. And in Italy, as in many other countries, scientific societies, associations are organizing events to celebrate the World Diabetes Day. And so many important monuments will be illuminated in blue in famous cities like Rome, Milan, Florence, and some university will do the same. But even little towns will turn on their blue light on city halls, hospital, fountains. And today and yesterday in many squares, they will check blood glucose to people. They will try to explain what diabetes is. And there will be concerts, activities for children, walks in parks, and not in Milan because it's raining, a tennis tournament as well. And for example, this afternoon, the Fondazione Italiana Diabete will organize on Facebook a video chat to retrace the history of insulin and check the state of the art of the research for a cure. As we said, the theme of this year's World Diabetes Day is access to diabetes care, if not now, when. And it's absolutely a topic that deserves emphasis and adequate awareness, given that 100 years after the discovery of insulin, many drugs and technologies for the treatment of diabetes remain out of the reach of many people who would need them. In Italy, we are lucky. The NHS in my country guarantees the supply of many drugs and devices for diabetes completely free of charge. But not all, and above all, not all in the same way, due to the regional difference in access to innovative drugs and devices. That's Italy. Anyhow, in these 100 years of diabetes, technological innovation has led to a radical change in the perspective of diabetes treatment, with better clinical results and a better quality of life for people with this disease. But still, many people with diabetes are not diagnosed in time, have a poor life because of diabetes. And today, on the occasion of World Diabetes Day, the hope is that we can progress more and more in innovation, but even more in promoting accessibility to the best quality of care for the benefit of the health of people with diabetes. But, that's always my point, but that's not enough. After 100 years from the discovery of insulin, we have to take a step forward. We need to cure diabetes. On Tuesday in Italy, for the first time, thanks to the Fondazione Italiana Diabete in the Senate in Rome, there will be a conference entirely dedicated to the research for a cure for type 1 diabetes. And our best scientists will explain why it's so difficult to find a cure, how stem cells could help cure diabetes, and if diabetes could be prevented or at least delayed, and why it's important to fund the research. The theme of this year's World Diabetes Day is access to diabetes care, if not now, when. I really do hope sooner or later the theme will be, it's time to cure diabetes, if not now, when. And I think it's really important that even our parliament, as I said, for the first time, is taking the cure for type 1 diabetes on, they're talking about that.
Yes. Daniela, wow, Italy is always a front runner when it comes to raising awareness, running events. Even, you were mentioning the Blue Monument Challenge. We will get to that later on. Blue Monument Challenge is something that was created 30 years ago when the United Nations and the International Diabetes Federation created World Diabetes Day on the birthday of Frederick Banting to celebrate. And two of the things they did is, one, they said they invented this little blue circle pin and said this is going to be from now on the symbol for diabetes worldwide. And the second is they invented the Blue Monument Challenge, asking cities around the world to light up a building, their buildings in blue on this day to raise awareness. And Italy is one of the countries where this is done tremendously, I know, all over, even the smallest villages. It's amazing. And
Absolutely, really. Even the smallest town, even the very old castle on the top of the hill. Unfortunately, I received this picture, but it was too late to send you. But it's really wonderful. And another thing, very little thing, on our community in November, all the people changed their profile picture, and they put the blue circle around or the face or the picture. And this goes on all over November. This is, it's a very nice thing to do, I think. And I'm very proud of that.
I see you even wearing blue glasses. I don't know whether this is standard, but you're even wearing two almost blue circles as glasses for World Diabetes Day. Daniela Donofrio from Milan, Italy, founder of Portale Diabete, one of the largest online, or the largest online community in Italy as well. Daniela, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Enjoy
Ciao,
the celebrations.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, Daniela. Now, let's go to Serbia, Uroš, are you there? Can you hear me? Yes, there you are. Uroš Bogdanovic from Serbia. Uroš, it's great to see you. I see you're wearing a blue circle pin on your sleeve as well. That's wonderful.
As always.
Uroš, you are, amongst many other things, you are the coordinator of IDF Europe's youth program, the EURA program. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about the youth leadership that IDF Europe was doing, and of course about the situation in Serbia, what's happening in Belgrade and across the country today?
Yes, thank you, Bastian. It's a pleasure to be here today with all these great speakers, to be among them. First of all, I am the coordinator of the steering committee of EURA, which is IDF Europe's youth initiative. It was envisaged almost 4 years ago now, the aim of the initiative is to transform and develop on the potential that the diabetes advocates from Europe reach while they are participating in the IDF Europe Leadership Camp, which was going on from almost a decade before COVID struck. So we realized that once they are at the camp, those young people aged 18 to 30, actually unlock a lot of potential to become diabetes advocates and to really make a change in their diabetes communities. And we wanted to further develop on that after the camp was finished. As I said, the camp was going on every year in the summer before COVID struck, but even last year and this year as well, we've been focusing, and we realized that we don't want to lose that momentum. So we organized the Youth Leadership Lab last year and this year, and it is the Youth Leadership Lab this year is just coming to an end in the next few days. We have a member of the Youth Leadership Lab here with us, so maybe she could share a few of her impressions. But that is the essential goal. So to empower young people living with diabetes to be advocates in their diabetes communities. And that is one of the ways we support IDF Europe in reaching their goals as youth. And when it comes to the World Diabetes Day in Serbia, it's a very hectic day. Unfortunately, I'm not outside. I'm here with you guys, but I would really like to share what has been going on. We have always been very active on World Diabetes Day and in November in general. So as previous years, we are trying to raise awareness on diabetes. We are participating as well in the Blue Monuments Challenge. So monuments in Belgrade, but also in several other cities in Serbia are lit up in blue and will be lit up in blue this evening, perhaps most notably the National Assembly of Serbia and the biggest bridge in Belgrade, so some of the key monuments in Serbia. Also, we have various national news TV broadcasters who wear the blue pin as well on news today, yesterday, tomorrow. So that is also a way that we want to raise awareness. But we have two events, one event and one campaign, I must say, that we are focusing on this year. One of them is the Blue Circle Around Ada Lake Marathon. So that is the annual marathon that is organized by the Belgrade Association, that is part of the Diabetes Association of Serbia. And it is actually the second largest marathon in Serbia. And today it's hosting its 10th the 10th annual marathon. So the goal of the marathon is obviously to raise diabetes awareness and to obviously raise awareness on the importance of physical activity in diabetes prevention and treatment. And as far as I know, we have around 750 runners, around 200 for the marathon race and 500 for the support race that is going on at the same place, which is for around 8 kilometers around the lake. And on the other hand, we have a big campaign, a national campaign, which is not the first that we're doing, but perhaps the biggest one in the last few years. So we have a national campaign which is called 770,000, which is the number of people living with diabetes in Serbia by the latest official calculations. And we want to raise awareness, and obviously in line with IDF's theme of this World Diabetes Day, the access to care. So I must say that in terms of equality to access to care, we are doing quite well in Serbia. We have the national healthcare system, and essentially the equality is pretty much there. But what we are lacking is the quality of that care, and that is what we want to improve on. I must say that we have been that there have been some improvements in the past year. For instance, for the first time, we have been receiving CGMs that we didn't have access to before. But again, we're starting small because not a lot of people can actually get those CGMs because of the strict criteria. So that is what we want to improve on. So the access to those innovative therapies and modern therapies to a larger number of diabetes patients. Also, we want to focus on the access to oral therapy, to innovative oral therapy for type 2 diabetes, which is one of our most important goals. And finally, as a way to promote this campaign, in collaboration with our partners, we have face masks, because it's COVID, we have face masks with the logo of the campaign on the mask, and those masks can be bought in bigger pharmacies in Serbia. They cost the same amount of money as regular face masks, but the proceedings, the part of the price paid for those masks will go into a fund which will fund the National Diabetes Camp for children and their parents, hopefully to be organized next year by our association. So that is what we have been working on today and in the past few weeks in Serbia.
Uroš, wow, that is so much happening in such a relatively small country. Like sometimes it's the smallest countries in Europe that are doing best in terms of raising awareness. And I love the idea of people with diabetes. You said 770,000, and that's the theme of your campaign. And a few of them running a marathon, hopefully in blue shirts or blue trunks, running around that lake, running the 10-year jubilee marathon on this 100-year jubilee of insulin around the lake, kind of forming in a blue circle. I can see how it must look like if you take a helicopter or a plane and look down. Wonderful, wonderful idea. Uroš Bogdanović from Serbia, also the youth coordinator of IDF Europe. Uroš, thank you very much for joining us here at Doc Day.
Thank you very much, Bastian. And 12 points for Sir Frederick Banting.
Of course. All right, let's continue our Eurovision tour through Europe and move live to Denmark, to Copenhagen. And there I say hello to Tobias Wörgel-Dörmqvist. Oh, you are outside and you're wearing blue. That is wonderful. Tobias, where are you right now?
Thank you. I'm just outside Copenhagen in Ellingeløn, celebrating by being alive and enjoying the nature.
That's wonderful. And I see it's gray and rainy, and you have your child with you, it seems. Wonderful. Love it. Tobias, Copenhagen and Denmark is, of course, the home of Novo Nordisk. It's the largest insulin producer in the world. I'm sure they're lighting up. We've been talking about the Blue Monument Challenge. I'm sure they're lighting up their headquarters here in Copenhagen. What else is happening in Denmark? I do know, for example, that the Steno Diabetes Center just opened a couple of days ago. Were you there?
That's right. I was there, and it was actually quite a moving event because for the last 89 years, there's been a diabetes hospital out in Gentofte, but this Wednesday, the new Steno Diabetes Center in Copenhagen opened, and that's 24,000 square meters of brand new hospital dedicated to world-class diabetes care. So that's really a fascinating place. Can treat 11,000 people at the moment, capacity going up to 14,000 people. So that's a landmark both of user involvement, patient safety, and also high quality treatment.
Yes, and Tobias, patient safety, that is one of your key topics. You are the founder or one of the co-founders of the Type 1 think tank in Denmark. And patient safety, safety for people with diabetes is one of the areas you work on. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yes, that's really important, because if you look at the entire healthcare system, something like 12 to 15% of all cost goes into treating lack of quality, unintended consequences, patient safety issues. So what we're trying to do is to raise awareness, gather data, especially on diabetes technology, make it easier for people with diabetes to report and to get help if they have accidents, both with the medication and the technology. And it has been quite an effort, but on Monday we had the honor of doing the keynote speak on the Danish Patient Safety Association's 20 years anniversary, talking about reporting, talking about the role of Langu, talking about the role of user involvement in empowering the patients in order to improve patient safety.
Wonderful. Tobias, I love the fact that you're joining us outside in your blue sweater for World Diabetes Day. Thank you for tuning in live from Denmark and reporting about these two events. And I have to admit, we're actually not far away, because Doc Day is actually currently being sent from Copenhagen. We're just here in your Danish capital. Tobias Bergel-Dunquist joining live from, I forgot where it is, but I think on the coast, right?
On the coast, Ellinge. It's a couple of miles outside Copenhagen.
Wonderful. Tobias, thank you for joining Doc Day today and reporting from Denmark. From Denmark, we are moving to Ireland. And let's see if Grania is there. Yes, and Grania, you brought your whole team. I see there's and you have blue balloons in the background. Grania, you and you personally report on, or you blog on bloodsugartrampoline.com. You run a local support group, and you run the Thrive Diabetes conference in Ireland. Is that where you are right now, or what are you doing on World Diabetes Day this year?
We have actually got a lot going on for World Diabetes Day this year. But first of all, I just want to say thank you, Bastian, and thank you, dedoc, and thank you to IDF for actually inviting us and for organizing this event. It's just wonderful, and it means a lot to us advocates to be able to share what we're doing. So, good morning, Europe and beyond from Ireland. And I'm Grania, and I am one of the founders of Thrive Diabetes. I have had diabetes for 28 years now. And as Bastian said, I write a personal journey about my diabetes on Blood Sugar Trampoline. And this is...
I'm Christine, and along with Grania, I am one of the organisers and co-founders of Thrive Diabetes, and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 2006.
Hi, my name is Aisling. I've had diabetes for the past 26 years. I'm currently a participant in the Youth Leadership Lab with IDF that Urash was talking about earlier. It's been a great opportunity to meet with people from across Europe, to learn from so many talented advocates, and to really dip my toes into advocacy work even more and bring the skills that I've got from there back to amazing groups such as the Midwest Advocacy Group. So yeah, it's been a great experience.
And Aisling, we descended on Aisling kind of suddenly this morning. So this is Aisling's house. She's allowed us to broadcast from here. So that's why we invited her on. So as I said, there's lots of events going on in Ireland this weekend to mark World Diabetes Day, but we're going to talk specifically about the ones that our group has organised in our area. And Hannah is going to share some slides for me, if she would, please. Because I have a photograph of where exactly... Yep, it's up. Oh, sorry, I can't see it. Oh, I can see it now. Sorry, I'm not paying attention. Live events. So as you can see from the slide, where we are located at the moment is on the west coast of Ireland in the Meadow. And who our group is, next slide please, Hannah, is our group, which we have called the Midwest Diabetes Advocacy Group, is Aaron, Grania, myself, and Jill from County Clare, Aisling White here, and Aisling O'Kelly, and Jean from County Limerick. And our group came together from both of our local diabetes support groups, and we've known each other for quite a long time. We decided to organise our events because while we are very lucky in Ireland to have access to free healthcare and to free diabetes medications and supplies, we do have huge issues related to access to specialist health professionals, diabetes education, and to technology such as insulin pumps and sensors. And while our group is focused on our area, we are hearing similar stories and experiences from people all over Ireland. So now I'm going to talk to you, hand you over to Christine to talk about 2 of our 4 events that we have organised this weekend.
So the first event was Dip for Diabetes, which was dip in the Atlantic Ocean at the Hinch in County Clare, and it was organised and held on the 31st of October. And that was organised by Erin and Jean, who are passionate sea swimmers. And the purpose for the event was for the group to finally get to meet face to face and be able to launch the Access to Care publicly. And then for the World Diabetes Day Monument Challenge, there has been monuments all across the country that have been lit up for World Diabetes Day, but locally to us, the University of Limerick lit up their 3 on-campus fountains blue for the weekend, and this was organised by Ashley O'Kelly. Thank you, Ashley.
But wait, there's more. Our second event was the hashtag Access to Care selfie campaign, which we launched through social media. So this centred on people with diabetes sharing their stories about access to care, their experiences, which are really not shared with people from outside of our online community. So we asked people to submit their photos, and our very talented group member Erin created a video with all of the photos to raise awareness about access to care in Ireland. People also posted these pictures to their social media feeds so they can all be seen online and raise awareness among the Irish community about access to care with diabetes. And then our last campaign for this weekend is we have an event this evening, so really straight after this event. We've organised a public demonstration to show our frustration at the lack of services in our area. So in organising this event, we've encouraged all of our elected representatives to publicly show support for the 250,000 people with diabetes in Ireland by marking World Diabetes Day on their social media platforms, which is something that really hasn't happened in previous years. So we're looking forward to meeting up with people with diabetes outside our own local area to highlight these issues. So if you want to see photos of our events or more information about our events, you can search the following hashtag, which Grania is going to show. It's hashtag IREDOC, so hashtag IREDOC. And we also have our our own Instagram handles and website there for you to look at as well. So thank you all so much for listening to us, and we wish you a very happy World Diabetes Day.
Ashley, Christine, Grania from Ireland, you're so well prepared with that little sign with the handles and all that. Love it. Great work you are doing. I think it's great to see that, you know, it's not always the big national diabetes associations doing the important groundwork. It's very often also individuals, people like you who in dedoc language we refer to as diabetes advocates. Some people ask us, what does that word actually mean? And there's some great comments on Facebook coming in right now. For example, one from someone called Claire Helen Meager, I think you pronounce that. She's asking, I'd love to become an advocate for the people in Wexford Island. No clue where that is, but she says, for Wexford Island, I don't know how to get involved. Can you please help me? But I just hear from Steffi, who's running our social medias, that people are already connecting on Facebook. And I'd love to say to everybody watching, regardless where you are, if you have questions to us, to some of the people presenting here, use the Facebook comments, use the Facebook chat, or email us now, email us later, get in touch with dedoc or directly with the people here through Facebook or whatever. Everybody's here to help. Everybody can be a diabetes advocate. There's another comment from Danny Kesting. Great to see where you're all coming from. We are not alone. Indeed, this is the idea. This is why we're doing this Doc Day, to connect people, not only within a country, but throughout Europe and in the second half across the world. Diabetes advocates like you joining us. One last comment. Those blue balloons, not sure whether that's a coincidence, but keep them. We'll get to that in just a minute. You may need them in a few minutes. Thank you very much for joining us live from Ireland. And with that, because Eurovision Song Contest, if you know that, always includes Australia, we thought we couldn't do our European diabetes tour without going live to Australia. And it's my great honor to welcome long-standing advocate and friend of dedoc, Renza Shibilia from Melbourne. Renza, how are you doing and what time is it right now in Australia?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, it's 11:15, but I feel like I just have to say Australia calling. Isn't that the way I'm meant to do this? Isn't that the Eurovision call? It's so exciting. I'm so excited to be here, Bastian. How are you? I've lost you. Well, I am absolutely thrilled to be here from Melbourne, Australia. Before I start, I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners on the land where I am coming from. It's beautiful Wurundjeri land. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. It's been a big day here today because we had the launch of our new National Diabetes Strategy, which is a 10-year strategy developed by an expert group. It's a government document that was launched this morning by our Federal Health Minister. We had our last diabetes strategy that I think was a 5-year document. So to have a 10-year document is really interesting. And it's also going to be really interesting to see how that is measured, I guess, over that 10-year period. There are 7 goals in this document, and I promise I'm not going to read the whole document to you because it is hundreds of pages long, but I do just want to pick up on a couple of things. One of the goals is to prevent people developing type 2 diabetes. There's also a goal around promotion of awareness and early detection of types 1 and 2 diabetes, reducing the burden of diabetes and its complications and improving quality of life, which is wonderful to see that there is a quality of life component in there. There's also a goal around pre-existing diabetes and gestational diabetes in pregnancy, reducing the impact of diabetes among other priority groups, strengthening prevention and care through research, evidence and data. Again, so great to see research in there. And also a very strong focus on reducing the impact of diabetes among First Nations people. We know that, I think it is really important to acknowledge that the outcomes for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, we have one of the highest rates of diabetes amongst those communities. So it is really important that we have dedicated strategies that look at addressing how to improve outcomes for our First Nations people. We still do have some restrictions around Australia at the moment. We can't travel interstate freely as yet. And so what we're seeing this year, as we did last year, is we're not having large events and large gatherings in person. There certainly have been some online events. We usually have monuments lit up, and we still do have that happening, but when that happens there's usually lots of people around. We run our Diabetes Australia Research Trust award ceremonies in some of the states here, but unfortunately we're still quite limited with that. So I think what we're seeing probably is that there is more online activity. I'm just really impressed to see that there are so many diabetes advocates who are really lifting their game, I guess, this year and really highlighting, what's going on in their communities and in their networks. But I guess, what I'm thrilled to be seeing and why I'm so happy to be part of this particular event is because there is a focus here on access. And I feel that considering that has been the International Diabetes Federation's focus, it's terrific when I'm seeing people actually really acknowledging that and talking about what access means. It means different things to different people. But one of the things that I'm especially proud of at Diabetes Australia is that we have highlighted organisations like Life for a Child and Insulin for Life and spoken about why their work is so important and encourage people, if they can, to make donations. We are very, very fortunate here in Australia with so many things. That doesn't mean that we have access to everything we need. need. It doesn't mean that access is simple for everybody. It doesn't mean that diabetes is a walk in the park for everybody. We still have challenges, but I think it is really important to acknowledge that there are people in under-resourced countries, and in countries like Australia, there are people in disadvantaged communities. Diabetes does disproportionately affect people who are disadvantaged. That is the way throughout the world. So to be focusing and looking at how we can support people in those situations is really important. So Bastian, stellar job, I guess, focusing on access with this event. I'm so proud to be part of it. So thank you.
We will have a lot more on access in just a little bit. This is what we centered this Doc Day, the second part, specifically on. We also had a lot of focus on access at our EASD and ISPAD Doc Day. So EASD is the European Association for the Study of Diabetes, and we have our dedoc Voices scholarship program for that, and we run a Doc Day there. ISPAD is the International Society for Pediatric and Adolescent Diabetes, and we had our Doc Day there. And we had one big focus on access issues and another big focus on the other important topic you just mentioned, complications, mental health, the burden of living with diabetes. So there's so much to talk about diabetes in general. I have to say, you in Australia, you do a stellar job with the campaigns you do with Diabetes Australia, but also your blog personally, Diabetogenic blog. I love what you're writing, Renza, and I just did the math. Last year already, you covered more than 1,000 topics, more than 1,000 blog posts. I don't even know where you are right now, but it's amazing.
No idea.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying up so late from Australia, from Melbourne. That was Renza Shibilia. Thank you very much. Now, that concludes our kind of Eurovision tour of diabetes around Europe. We now want to look, before we get to the real access discussion, we want to do a little breaker and focus on a few, because we said we want to also do the celebrational part, right? We want to look at some of the awards and the campaigns and the fundraisers around November and World Diabetes Day. There is, as you heard, there's many. We want to focus on a few that are run by our partners. And of course, we will start with IDF Europe, who is co-hosting this event with us. And I turn around and I see Elizabeth. Oh, Elizabeth, you're in the car. Elizabeth is the regional manager of IDF Europe in Brussels. Welcome to Doc Day, Elizabeth. Tell us a little bit about IDF Europe's prizes in diabetes, because these are about to launch.
Yeah, thanks, Bastian, and sorry to be in the car. I had a last-minute change in my schedule, and but I really didn't want to miss the opportunity to be here with you today and to be here with all the member association. And before I start speaking of the prizes, if you give me 2 minutes just to say how impressed I am by what is being done across Europe by all the member association and others association. It's really amazing to see how active diabetes association are on today on World Diabetes Day. And definitely, Bastian, what we want to do as IDF Europe today on World Diabetes Day is to celebrate the work of our member association and all the amazing engagement to improve the lives of people living with diabetes. So one way we have been doing that over the last 10 years is through our diabetes prize. Traditionally, IDF Europe has been granting 3 prizes: the Long-Standing Achievement, the Young Researcher, and the Innovation Prize. So the Young Researchers Prize is awarded to a researcher who is under the age of 40 and who is involved in research in diabetes and in diabetes complications. In 2021, we couldn't grant this prize, but we definitely hope that next year we will be able to do so. So the next prize is the Long-Standing Achievement Prize. And as its name suggests, it awards the commitment, the long-term commitment of associations or individuals who are improving the lives of people living with diabetes. This is a prize that has traditionally been given in partnership with Eli Lilly, who is supporting us for the prizes and whom I would like to thank. The call for the prize is closed. we had 5 amazing nominations, and that really made the work of the selection committee extremely challenging. They said it was worth it. So definitely, I think you will be very much surprised by the winner, and the winner will be announced on the 14th of December on our team meeting and through social media. So please watch for it. And then the last prize, which is the Innovation Prize, is the most recent one awarded by IDF Europe. And it was initially called the Social Media Prize. And Bastian, I think you know who was the first winner of that prize. And we are very proud of that, because that was you and dedoc. And I think that was a very wise selection. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here with you and all of you to be able to celebrate all together World Diabetes Day. So this year, because of the centenary of insulin, we are awarding again with Eli Lilly the Centenary of Insulin Innovation Prize. And the call is open. The deadline for application is the 21st of December. The prize awards recognition in innovation, but more specifically innovation in education, support, and advocacy. The information for how to apply is available on the IDF Europe website. dedoc and Bastian would certainly be able to provide you further information if you wish it. And definitely don't hesitate to contact IDF Europe for any further information. We are always happy to help. So in a nutshell, that is what I wanted to say about the prizes.
Elizabeth, thank you very much. And indeed, the first Innovation Award, or at that time Social Media Award, was received by dedoc before it actually became a thing, kind of. It was basically just a hashtag back then. It was something we did primarily in Germany. It was starting to become more international, but very slowly. What I can say about it is that I mean, it's not one of these big awards with tons of money, etc. That's not the thing. But it does give recognition and motivation and a boost to carry on, because sometimes you're being, many diabetes advocates out there do this, and it's all volunteer work, and sometimes it's a lot on top of just living with diabetes, and sometimes people think you're crazy doing all this, And this, for me personally back then, getting this award from IDF Europe kind of was like a tap on the back, but also a recognition saying you're doing something valuable here for the community, and it empowered me to kind of push on, go on. It also put me in touch with IDF Europe, and I'm very proud to now be on the board of your wonderful organization. So I can really encourage everybody out there watching this right now, do check out these prizes for innovation. Whether you're a young researcher, you can apply. Whether you're an organization, you want to apply for the Long-Standing Achievement Award or the Innovation Award, which is still, the call is still ongoing for this year, as Elizabeth just said. Check it out on the website of IDF Europe. It can really give a boost and motivation, and I'm here to prove it. Elizabeth, thank you very much for this long-standing tradition of IDF Europe to honor individuals, but also our member associations. And you've said it, Niti said it in the beginning, we've heard from all our dedoc voices what's happening all across Europe and beyond. It really is amazing, and recognizing that, I think, through an organization like ours is also really important. Last but not least, thank you for agreeing to co-host this event with us.
No, that's a pleasure for us. And Bastian, if you leave me 2 extra minutes, I just would like to invite all the members association and all you on this dedoc platform today to attend our webinars. We are holding 2 webinars. The first one is on the 16th of November, and it's about AI and technologies in diabetes. And the second one is on the 18th, and it's about innovative financing mechanism. Both topics are really there to improve access to care and improve the quality of life of people with diabetes. So we look forward to having you on the webinars. Thanks.
Tuesday and Thursday of this coming week, 2 webinars by IDF Europe. Elizabeth, again, thank you very much.
Thank you, and happy World Diabetes Day to everyone. Thanks a lot.
We now turn to an award that was already given just 2 weeks ago, and it is great for me to welcome Maren Schins. Maren is a long-standing friend of dedoc, and she now works at the Diabetes Center in Bern, and the Diabetes Center Bern just did the Innovation Challenge, and it was actually my honor to be there 2 weeks ago to moderate the awards ceremony, and Marlon will tell us about the challenge and the awards and everything about DCB. Marlon, great to have you here.
Great to have the opportunity to be here, and thank you for your introduction, Basti. It's always a pleasure to be all among these diabetes advocates from around the world, and yeah, it's a special day in addition. So we at DCB, we want to listen to these unmet needs we are talking about today, and to want to help and support to transform these ideas and to transform this project into solutions. And therefore, we have launched our innovation platform this year, and also our innovation challenge, where we this year wanted to ask for, can your ideas change glucose measurement forever? And we are super proud, so next slide, please, to be one of the biggest awards in the field of diabetes, was up to $2,000 for all of the finalists, so 100,000 for the first finalist. And yeah, what is really special also about the DCB is that we are a nonprofit. So we are really not interested in IP rights. So the ideas really stay at your side. And in the next slide, you see what we had for a great time after launching the challenge in May. So with 72 projects from around the world, this was really amazing. We had such a great time. Also with all of our fantastic mentoring and expert network, we had over 150 mentoring sessions to support the top 50 and top 20 during the summertime. And in September, we had also the great opportunity to welcome the top 5 teams in Switzerland to work really 1 week on their solutions, on their projects, to support them here in Switzerland as well. And as you said, nearly 2 weeks ago, we had the final pitches at our award ceremony. And we have a little video to show you what was happening this evening. And I wanted to ask the crowd if you can figure out which great host we had, but you have already mentioned it. So please show the video now, Hannes. Thank you.
As a former founder, I know about the roller coaster of building up a startup, and as a type 1 diabetic, I know about the roller coaster living with diabetes. So I am absolutely amazed about our startups and solutions we have in our innovation challenge.
What impressed me most is actually how careful they listened to all the advices and what they did with the advices we gave them. But actually it doesn't really surprise me, because they are fast learners. They have to be, otherwise they wouldn't have been here tonight.
This innovation challenge is a real global challenge. As you can see, the winner comes in from Norway, but we have teams from Brazil, from India, from Germany, and from the US. So we are really excited about this being a global effort.
So no surprise anymore. Congratulations to Nicolas Elvemo from Norway with Glucoset. He worked on a minimal invasive real-time CGM for the ICU, and we were really amazed by his solution. So first place for him, congratulations. Kevin Röhl from Germany with Mila has got the second place for his personal meal advisor. And Yuri Matsumoto from Brazil with Glucogear has got the third place for closing for project who wants to aim closing the loop for MDI. And of course, congratulations to our great finalists. So a great woman from India, you will also hear later about more, Nupur Lavani. Congratulations for your project with Sugar Circle, and Edward Shaw from the USA with his project Number. So you can find all these great projects and all other over 70 entries from this year at our platform. So come on over and be inspired, by all these amazing talent and projects that have joined the challenge this year. And of course, after the challenge is before the next challenge. So therefore, we want to ask you which unmet need you would love to see in the next year's challenge. So what is really your topic idea, what you want to see? You can post this at our platform. You can visit our platform and log in and register. And yeah, I really have to mention, to work with all of you is really a dream come true. And I hope to see you at the platform. I hope to see you in the next challenge. And thank you, Bastian and Hannah and the whole dedoc team for the opportunity today.
Maren, thank you. It was an honor to be your community partner for the DCB Innovation Challenge. We tried to make everybody aware that this was happening, encourage people to apply. And it's of course great to see that in the round of 5 finalists, there were 2 of our dedoc voices, Kevin and Nupur, who made it to the last 5, which is already a huge accomplishment. And we're, as you were just saying, Nupur is going to join us later on to talk about access to diabetes care in India, but maybe also we can ask her a little bit about the foundation she's running and the Blue Sugar Circles project she was presenting. So that's DCB, the Innovation Challenge. It is really worth it. It was great to be there to moderate the award. If anybody's out there who's working on something interesting in terms of innovation or has a topic that they want to see, do check out the DCB's website. It is a very, very interesting place, a new place for innovation and research and technology, and maybe a good place for you to get that next boost to continue to go on. So we heard about the Idea of Europe Awards, we heard about the DCB Innovation Award, and now it is my great honor to welcome Antonella Ettore from Lilly to talk about the Leonard Award. And Antonella, we already heard about 100 years of insulin. Leonard Thompson, of course, being the first person to ever have been injected with insulin. This is why the day early next year is Leonard Thompson Day. We've heard about Lilly being one of the supporters behind the Idea of Europe prizes. Now you are here to join us. Thank you very much. Tell us about Lilly and the Leonard Award, please.
Ciao, Bastian, and thank you very much for the kind introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody connected from all over the world, Europe, wherever you are. Today I'm in Siena, which is a small city in Tuscany, famous for the horses race from the Middle Age, and I'm going to tell you something more about the Lilly Leonard Award, which is a special prize launched for the first time ever this year. But before starting, just let me remind you that the upcoming 3 years from 2021-2023 are going to represent a great momentum for the diabetes community to commemorate the crucial achievement and to recognize the improvement in care since insulin first was made available. But it also represents a remarkable period to work together as a united community at national and international level to bring up the level of attention that diabetes and people with diabetes deserve everywhere. So today we are reminded and inspired by the life of Leonard Thompson, the first person with diabetes to be treated with insulin in 1922. And next slide, please. So we launched the Lilly Leonard Award for the upcoming 2 years to recognize diverse champions dedicated to advancing diabetes management. The winners from each category that you can see on the right-hand side of these slides were selected by a panel of well-recognized judges from the diabetes community, which evaluated more than 70 submissions of an original project, innovation, or effort that addresses an important need, a challenge, or aims to support the community. So without any further hesitation, next slide, please. I will announce now the winner from the Advocate and Advocacy Professional, which is Sana Imal from Pakistan, for working as the founder of a non-profit organization that aims to improve the lives of people with diabetes. Next, please. The winner from researcher categories is James Shapiro from Canada for work developing a protocol for islet cell transplantation. Next, please. The winner from endocrinologist and primary care physician is Giuseppina Chierici from Italy for work starting a project that provides free medical home care assistance and advice for people with diabetes in need. Next, please. The winner from Diabetes Educator and Nurses is Vanita Pais from Canada for work on food skills programs and workshop for children with type 1 diabetes. And finally, next please, the winner from teen and young adult category is Drew Mendelo from United States for work developing the type 1 diabetes app, which helps people with diabetes calculating and logging key metrics and easily send them to their diabetes care team. So let me pause for a second for a big virtual applause to these individuals. Send them a message congratulating for their effort for the diabetes community. Next, please. Now, Lilly Diabetes is giving $20,000 in recognition of each winner for a total of $100,000 to Life for a Child, a global no-profit organization that I'm sure you know very well, that provides access to care, education, and life-saving medicines and supplies to children and young people with diabetes. Lilly Diabetes and Life for a Child have been working together for more than a decade to expand access to care for children and youth with diabetes, since despite great strides, still 460 million people are living with diabetes worldwide. 80% of them are in low and middle income countries. And according to the latest Atlas data, 1 out of 2 don't have access to injection devices, 2 out of 3 don't have access to supplies like glucometers, test strips, and far too many don't have access to the healthcare education and expertise they deserve. So we recognize that access to diabetes care includes much more component than just only access to insulin. And that's why in January 2021, Lilly has announced a major expansion of the partnership together with the Life for a Child to serve from 23,000 up to 150,000 people living with diabetes in 65 countries, resource-limited countries. And this year, and for the upcoming 3 years, the Lilly Leonard Award and the outstanding efforts of these individuals and their dedication to the community will further support Life for a Child mission of providing the best possible diabetes care to children in need in resource-limited countries. Next, please. So what I need from you guys connected today, let's truly work together as a united community at national and international level to be stronger and to achieve a more impactful result together. And of course, don't miss the next year round of application of the Lilly Leonard Award. I'm sure that all of you are already playing a significant role in your local community. Thank you very much, and back to you, Bastian.
Antonella, thank you. You know, what I really like about this Lilly Leonard Award is that it connects 3 important things. It connects the centennial, the 100 years of insulin that started this year. Next year, Leonard Thompson Day, the 100-year anniversary of that first injection. And actually, we're celebrating for 3 full years, same as IDF. So it connects the 100-year celebrations with the celebrational element that we're talking about here in general. And as you heard in my opening remarks, we here try to balance this celebrational part and the advocacy part. And you managed to connect the 100 years and the celebrations to the topic of access by making this a huge campaign about supporting Life for a Child, this organization, this small NGO in Australia who's been doing tremendous work for over a decade. You've been supporting them for over a decade, and you're now supporting them even more for another 10 years to expand the number of people they can reach from 23,000, I think you said, to 150,000. And what I think you maybe forgot to mention is that for each of the 5 awardees, each of the 5 winners of the Lilly Leonard Award, you're donating even more money. So there's another 100,000 euros going to Life for a Child, which will enable them to do even more. Considering that, I think from the Sparrow Rose campaign, I know that a €5 donation to Life for a Child is enough to help one child in one of the many countries they serve for a full month with insulin, with test strips, with diabetes care. So that is a lot of children being served.
Correct, Bastian, and thank you very much for reminding. And again, everyone in the community can really play a significant role, since really together we can achieve more as an impactful and stronger community.
Antonella, thank you very much. Thank you for Lilly's support to Life for a Child specifically. Thank you for this award. And to the community out there, please do check out this award. Nominate people you may know, associations you may know for this award, so that this becomes even bigger. Last word, specific congratulations to Sana Ajmal, who is also one of us, one of the diabetes advocates, and it's great to see that she won one of these awards. She's also the stream lead for the upcoming IDF World Diabetes Congress. So should you be there, you will see her there in December.
If you allow me, Bastian, I want to spend a few more words for Sana from Pakistan, since she's really working in a very difficult setting, and her no-profit nationwide organization is really providing support in 5 different areas, which are the access to insulin, quality care, empowering education, peer support, and awareness. But more than that, she's also working to provide and to set up sustainable solutions to make the effort sustainable over time. So really congratulations also to Sana from Pakistan for her outstanding work within the advocacy space.
And we were actually hoping to have her on Doc Day today, but she is of course super busy. She's running her own events. She's organizing bus rides throughout the country in different cities today as we speak, speaking on different events, one after the other. So she's probably out there right now doing what she's doing and what she received this award for. Antonella Ettore from Lilly Diabetes, thank you very much. Now, we also already heard quite a bit about Life for a Child, and we're going to hear from Life for a Child in just a minute from Emma Klattmann. But before I hand over to Emma, we have another great announcement to make. dedoc has been partnering with another partner, with Medtronic. And with Medtronic, we have been putting together another fundraiser for Life for a Child, because we just love this organization and the work they do. And like I said, you'll hear from them in just a moment. It's a campaign in which all of you now watching this can participate. It is my great honor first to welcome Mirai Kaimas from Medtronic, the European headquarters. Hello, Mirai. Great to see you here.
Hi, Bastian. Hello. Good morning, Bastian. Good morning, everyone.
And Mirai, before we kick this off and talk about this great Blue Balloon Challenge, as we call it, the fundraiser, let's kick it off by showing the video that goes with it. Film up.
Wonderful.
Do you want to hand back to me for a minute? Small technical error with the video on our side. I think they're fixing it right now. Give us one second. Let me just see what they're doing. Or shall we continue and we show the video afterwards? Okay, we'll show the video in just a minute. Sorry for that, Mirai, but we'll get to that in a minute. It's also on our website, and many have seen it before probably, because this video had actually been launched earlier this year by Medtronic. You launched it all over the world. The video, let me just summarize, is raising awareness around living with diabetes. Don't worry, we'll get to it. We'll show it in a moment. So it's raising awareness around living with diabetes by symbolizing life with diabetes in the form of a blue balloon that you always have to balance. And the call to action is, you know, living with diabetes is like everyday life for everybody else out there. But for people like us, people living with diabetes, you always have to balance this balloon and make sure it doesn't fall or get blown away, etc. And there's amazing scenes in there. Now, the video is primarily about raising awareness, and then the campaign we have decided to do together now is going to involve the Diabetes Online community worldwide to combine that into a fundraiser. Maybe, are you guys ready? Or okay, I think we can show the video now and then we'll come to the campaign. Let's try it again.
Type 1 diabetes. It's like you do everything you do in daily life, but while keeping a balloon in the air. It's a complex thing to explain, even to the people who know us best. Balancing the ups and downs of life with diabetes, it can be challenging. have our own ways of living with diabetes. And most of us handle it so well that it's invisible to others. Type 1 diabetes is always there, and it's time we start talking about it. Together, we can make a difference.
I truly love this video because it symbolizes living with diabetes so well. I especially love this last scene with the father quickly reaching out to catch the young boy's balloon so that it doesn't fall, like he's preventing him from rushing into hypo. Can you first, before we come to the campaign, tell us what was the initial idea behind creating the video by Medtronic?
Yeah, thank you, Bastian. So I appreciate that you must have seen the Blue Balloon before, and we are very happy that we are able to relaunch the Blue Balloon campaign and all this challenge with the support of dedoc community and also Life for a Child. So our original motivation for launching this idea, as well as any new initiative that we will be coming in the space of awareness and education, is really to make diabetes feel understood within the big society. So this year we are celebrating the 100th year anniversary of the invention of insulin. And for many years, companies, scientists, universities, governments, many stakeholders are working on finding tools, therapies for easier, better, and more successful management of diabetes, finding access, and hopefully to find cure for diabetes one day. So while this space remains to be the big focus area of Medtronic, as well as all the companies working in this community, we know that diabetes is one of the diseases where the communities don't fully understand and they don't have enough amount of education. So education is a big problem. We know you as associations, the advocates around diabetes do a big portion of the work. And we all believe that all companies, including Medtronic, they have a portion of this work. Everybody has to contribute to the society to be educated around diabetes. So our initial idea about launching the Blue Balloon campaign was really to make sure that people who don't know about diabetes, we could find a creative way to illustrate how it is to live with a disease like diabetes, so that, you know, all the stigmas, all the silly questions that people who live with diabetes receive hopefully get alleviated one day. And of course, thinking of the other side of the importance of awareness is also for new diagnosis. Many people living with diabetes, it goes without right diagnosis, and we believe part of it is due to low awareness levels in whole world, unfortunately. So we will continue all our activities around running new initiatives, new campaigns with the support of our partners like dedoc, like IDF, like any associations that we are close to in the communities to raise awareness. And for this World Diabetes Month, I'm very, very happy and very emotional actually that we have the opportunity to relaunch the Blue Balloon Challenge with an ability to raise awareness and also to create funding for Life for a Child organization. So we talk about the importance of access, we talk about the importance of awareness. Life for a Child is an amazing organization. I bet many of you know. If you don't, you will hear more about them. So we are launching the Blue Balloon Challenge again for the month of November and December, where every challenge performed and shared online will create €5 of donation to Life for a Child organization from Medtronic. So we are very excited. We are very happy that we have this opportunity. And I would like to thank again for whole dedoc team for putting us in contact, for all the great advice that we have received. So yes, bottom line, this is our motivation. I look forward to many more great initiatives like that with the dedoc and IDF community.
And Mirai, let us just quickly explain to our audience how this is going to work. You can find all about this on the dedoc website, on the Blue Balloon Challenge websites. Especially you can find all about it on Instagram. If you go to the Medtronic Diabetes EU or the dedoc.org or the Life for a Child Instagram accounts, this is where it's going to happen, on Instagram. The Blue Balloon Challenge is asking each and every one of you to post an Instagram post, an Instagram story. And if you do that with a Blue Balloon Challenge filter, where this blue balloon that you saw in the video will suddenly appear next to you, and you tag the Medtronic account, then this unlocks a €5 donation to Life for a Child. And I don't know, Mirai, you are aware that the community is big, that we are reaching a lot of people worldwide, and this may become quite expensive for you guys. How far are you willing to go with this?
So our top limit for this year is €100,000 euros, and I would love that we are challenged by the community. I would love to see that we are reaching at the 100,000, so that next time we run a campaign like that, we can create even bigger funding and support for meaningful organizations like Life for a Child.
So up to €100,000 are up for grabs by Medtronic as a donation to Life for a Child. Every Instagram story that you out there may be posting with the Blue Balloon Challenge filter tagging Medtronic will donate €5 of that 100,000. That's the call to action to everyone out there. We need 20,000 Instagram stories to unlock the full potential here. And just to bring it down, and Emma will talk about this in just a moment, €5 means supporting a life or supporting a child with diabetes for a full month. First of all, Mirai, thank you very much for doing this. Thank you very much for listening to us to turn this, to relaunch this video and turn it into a full-fledged campaign. We partnered with you earlier this year in summer to run it just as an awareness campaign. Now it's becoming a full-fledged campaign, and it's reaching all around the world. And we really hope our community will follow and post stories. It is live starting now until end of November. The Blue Balloon Challenge by Medtronic. Thank you, Mirai, for joining us today.
Thank you, Bastian. Thanks, everyone. Happy World Diabetes Day, World Diabetes Month.
And again, all the information can be found on dedoc.org, the website, or on blueballoonchallenge.com, the Medtronic landing page. So, now that we've heard so much about Life for a Child, it is my great honor to welcome Emma Klettmann. Emma, welcome to Doc Day.
Thank you so much, Bastian. It's overwhelming in the best possible way.
We've heard so much about Life for a Child. Now we want to hear from Life for a Child. Most of all, tell us what you do, tell us what Life for a Child is doing, and tell us what €5 can do for children with diabetes in some of the poorest countries in the world.
Of course, Bastian, it would be the greatest honor to do so. And firstly, let me just say a big wow and hello to all of our friends within the Diabetes Online community at dedoc, Medtronic, and Lily on what feels like to me the least ordinary Sunday morning. For me, this is one of the most meaningful World Diabetes Days that I can remember in my 23 years living with type 1. I'm sure, like all of you, I've got a worm's eye view into what life is like living with diabetes in a high resource country, and I'm so aware of the privilege that comes with this. But even with access to the tools I need to survive and succeed, my own diabetes journey has been filled with contradictions, as I'm sure all of my friends can empathize with. I know you can all begin to imagine what life with diabetes is like in a place where someone doesn't have even the opportunity to begin giving themselves the care they need to survive and succeed. I've worked with Life for a Child for nearly a quarter of my life as I've lived with diabetes. And for me, what this means is that I see from above how access to diabetes care impacts young people with type 1, their parents, brothers and sisters, doctors and nurses who give all they can to ensure they simply stay safe and get the care they need. I'm sure many of you will know about Life for a Child, but for those who do not, I would like to share how we fit into the global puzzle, as it were, of access to diabetes care for young people around the world. We know that living with type 1 diabetes means having everything you need at all times, not 6 out of 7 days of the week, not half the time, and not randomly. But this is often the situation for young people who fight to live with type 1 in countries that unfortunately struggle with capacity to ensure their health systems provide all the things that type 1s need to stay safe. And here, I'm not talking about CGMs, I'm not talking about pumps or other life-enhancing technologies. I'm talking really about the basics: insulin, human insulin often, test strips, well-trained and empathetic healthcare professionals, HbA1c testing, the list goes on. But this really is where Life for a Child steps in. We exist to work with local health services, who are the hubs for young people with type 1, so that they can provide an intermediate level of care that staves off, quite frankly, disturbingly common levels of premature death and entirely avoidable complications. We work to address this challenge by building what is already there, by partnering with diabetes centers and engaging local champions, just like Sana in Pakistan. We provide partner centers with diabetes medicines and supplies. We also help with training of healthcare professionals, diabetes education, capacity building, and we support diabetes camps too. If I could, I would just love to provide a bit of granular country context, and this is in the West African country of Mali. Life for a Child has worked with the local incredible partner Santé Diabète in Mali since 2008. When we started supporting Santé Diabète, we assisted them with insulin and blood glucose test supplies. And when we started, there were roughly only 28 young people alive with diabetes. After Santé Diabète and Life for a Child began working together, that number started to rise, and quickly. And now the known number of people with type 1 is over 900. This is because of targeted education initiatives. These targeted education initiatives have helped to prevent death from misdiagnosis. They've helped to improve the levels of care they're on. This has meant that young people are actually able to thrive, and their families can go through life feeling more secure. This positive trajectory in Mali is our driving force as to why we partner and engage with local diabetes centers. As of this month, we're partnering with diabetes centers in 47 countries, which means we're supporting 27,000 young people with type 1. Our estimates and work in studying global incidence and prevalence of type 1 diabetes in young people shows us that there are many more in need of help. As Antonella brilliantly mentioned, we announced Vision 2030 earlier this year, and this means helping 150,000 young people with diabetes in 65 countries by 2030. Our goal is to accomplish this reach in the next 10 years. So our team is working hard to improve access to treatment regimens and increase provision of glucose monitoring supplies. We're also working hard to advance healthcare professional training, family education, and encourage peer support. We're also working to encourage sustainability by co-building advocacy through evidence-backed initiatives to help spur local change. We know that a better situation for young people living with type 1 diabetes in less resourced countries is possible. The status quo of poor levels of access for type 1 diabetes does not and should not have to be accepted as a fact of life. We know that cost-effective interventions are possible. We know that people with type 1 deserve the chance to live full lives. And the Blue Balloon Challenge is an incredible opportunity to challenge the status quo by helping Life for a Child meet the needs of the many young people with diabetes still in need of support. I often get questions like, I would love to donate to Life for a Child to help make a difference, but I can't afford to do so. What can I do? And I usually respond saying that awareness raising in its own right goes just as far and in such authentic ways. This is exactly why we're so motivated and grateful for the Blue Balloon Challenge. One story equals one story wherever you are, whomever you are, with whatever you have. And as Bastian mentioned, for each Insta story with the Blue Balloon Challenge filter tagging Medtronic Diabetes EU, Medtronic will donate €5 to Life for a Child. These €5 will help to support a young person supported by Life for a Child for 1 month with insulin and other supplies. We would like to say a massive thank you to the dedoc, Medtronic, and Lilly communities for their contributions. We can't wait to see how our amazing friends in the Diabetes Online community will continue helping improve the lives of people with diabetes. This group is truly unstoppable, and you really have all helped make this the most special World Diabetes Day I've ever experienced. So thank you.
Emma and it always touches me when we meet online. We've never met we have met in real life, but that was a long time ago. But, you know, just hearing you talk about the impact of your work, and we will soon switch over to some of our dedoc voices in some of the countries you serve. You know, it is for people like me, like us living in Europe, it is sometimes hard to understand that this is really about the root basics of living with diabetes. It's excellent. It's access to insulin, it's access to test strips, it's access to information at its bare minimum, basically. And this is exactly what you are providing, what you have been providing for over a decade by working with partners, and you do it so well. And you're a small team down there in Australia, but you work with all these partners. And so for us, it's actually a great honor to become part of that partner network now and be able to support what you do. And I really, really hope, I cannot stress it enough, that everybody watching this, everybody out there, everybody who has an Instagram account will take the time to post not only one, but maybe a couple Instagram stories over the next 2 weeks or so to support the Blue Balloon Challenge, thereby support Life for a Child and reach children with diabetes in many of these countries. Emma, if we get to 20,000 Instagram posts, that will mean you will be able to serve 20,000 children for a full month. That's way more than 1,500 children for a full year until next year's World Diabetes Day. And then we'll have to come up with another grand idea.
So this is so fantastic, and this is so meaningful to spur change. Thank you all so much.
Emma, thank you again. Thank you very much for the amazing work you do. And say hello to the whole team, and we'll hear from you more, I'm sure.
Fantastic. Thank
you.
Emma
Gladman from Life for a Child. Now, before we go see our dedoc voices, it is now my great honor to meet Priyanka Rai. Priyanka, are you there? Yes. Priyanka is the Global Policy Director at JDRF, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation based in New York. Priyanka, welcome to Doc Day.
Thank you, Bastian, and thank you everyone for joining us. It's been a privilege to have the opportunity to talk to you all about the Type 1 Diabetes Index, which is a product that we will be launching soon. So to tell you a bit about the Type 1 Diabetes Index, it is a global tool for the Type 1 diabetes community, which is brought to you by JDRF International in collaboration with Beyond Type 1, the IDF, ISPAD, and Life for a Child. We'll be launching this tool in 2022, and it will be the first of its kind, which will help reveal a global picture and show the size and scale of Type 1 diabetes in the world today. So I'll just take you through a quick presentation. If we could just go to the next slide. Okay, great. There we go. So what does the actual data tell us? So we're working with Graham Ogle from Life for a Child, who will be helping us publish this data soon. But I can share with you some brief glimpses from the data. And what we can see here is, while there have been many projections and estimates for individual countries, this is the first time that we'll be able to compare the burden of Type 1 diabetes. Like this image shows on your screen, right now, most of the people living with Type 1 diabetes appear to be in high-income countries and like Europe and America, etc. But what we also know is that most countries lack the data on the burden of type 1 diabetes. So estimates like incidence, prevalence, mortality, particularly in adults, are difficult to find. And these are very critical in helping improve the delivery of care. Next slide, please. Now, as you can see in this slide, this is new data that the Type 1 Diabetes Index will be able to help us identify. And what it defines, those dark blue circles that you can now see, is what we call the lost or the ghost population, which is the number of people with Type 1 diabetes who would still be alive today if they had access to better care. This is a major finding from the index, and it also reveals the complete burden of type 1 diabetes, which includes the days that are lost to complications arising from type 1 diabetes, the burden of managing the condition from day to day. And it highlights the need for global actions because, as you can see, the burden is large in almost every country, and especially in the global south, where that prevalence, where those dark blue circles of missing people are particularly high. So what we hope through collecting and sharing this data is that the global impact of type 1 diabetes will come more into focus, and we'll have an opportunity to actually influence action in these areas, in these countries where the condition itself doesn't get much support from governments, etc. Next slide, please. So this slide here actually highlights where the burden lies and where our vision for change actually lives. So as you can see, there's an urgent component of growth around the number of people we're losing to the condition. Millions who are either, some who may be diagnosed and are lost because they don't have access to proper care, and a lot who are undiagnosed. So if you look at the split between high income, upper middle income, and lower middle income and low income countries, you can see that the population of type 1 diabetes is highest in high income because that's the data we do collect. But the burden of the condition is actually really high in countries, low middle income and low income countries, where a lot of people are lost to the condition before they're even diagnosed. So this is where, like Emma mentioned, for instance, in a low income country like Mali, when there is an intervention, there'd probably be very few people alive with type 1 diabetes, like 28 in Mali that Emma mentioned. And after an intervention, it can actually increase really rapidly, and there can be more people living with type 1 diabetes once they have access to good care. So in those countries, the focus actually has to be in ensuring diagnosis and getting that supply up. But in higher income and upper middle income countries too, there is a big burden of people who are living with type 1 diabetes, which can be helped reduced by enabling access to better technology like continuous glucose monitoring, insulin pumps, closed loop systems, etc. So across the globe, there is different areas of focus for type 1 diabetes that are needed, which we hope that the index will be able to advance. Next slide, please. So the index is right now in a soft launch phase. And what we do hope is that once it's launched, it'll help, spear a lot of advocacy movements across the world. We'd encourage you to visit us on t1dindex.org and sign up. Once the index is launched next year, we'll get in touch with everyone. And there's a lot, we hope to be able to support advocates, people living with type 1 diabetes, and their allies who want to make a difference for their communities and countries, and are concerned about the humanitarian impact of diabetes on the world. Additionally, we also have an opportunity to define areas of need through our data that can help identify where funding would have the greatest impact through industry and philanthropy, including helping prioritizing, directing, and tracking investment in the areas that most need attention. So last slide. Thank you for your interest. We would love to hear your thoughts, and please do get in touch with us at hello@t1dindex.org. Thank you, Bastian.
Priyanka, thank you. Thank you very much. I know you've been working, you and your team, you've been working on this for years. I think the first time I heard about this was 3-4 years ago at a global conference. It has been taking a lot longer because the data is so rich, and it's actually quite scary. I've seen some of the back-end data of it that is about to launch. It is a bit scary, but it will be very impactful. Please do stay on the line a little bit. I have some follow-up questions for you later on. Tell us once more, first of all, thank you for this sneak preview. This is nothing more than that. There's a lot more behind it. But tell us one more thing. This will launch on Leonard Thompson Day next year, is that right?
That's the hope. We're hoping it's going to be supported by a publication that will include the whole data, and the data itself will be open source. As you can understand, there's a lot of logistics that go behind it. So we're hoping for Leonard Thompson Day, which is the 23rd of Jan, but we'll keep you all posted. So please do go sign up and register on the website.
And if I can just say, one of the greatest things I've seen in the data that I've looked at is that you can actually zoom into, you've been working with Life for a Child, but with many other organizations around the world. And what I loved most about the index is that you can zoom into almost any country in the world, and then you can compare. For example, I could compare how is the situation in Germany to how is it in Mali. And you can put these two countries next to each other and then see the differences. And the topics we've been talking about before, that it's sometimes so hard to grasp for people like us here in Europe, what it really means to live in a country like Mali. Was just 28 people, Emma said in the beginning, alive.
20, yes.
I mean, that's almost, impossible to understand. But the index makes these losses, as you say, and these differences so visible. So love to see it, but please stay on the line. We'll get back to that in just a bit. Priyanka Rai, Global Policy Director at the Juvenile Diabetes Research, the JDRF, sorry, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. Thank you, Priyanka. Now, we've said it a lot, World Diabetes Day, a day to celebrate, but also a day to advocate. And this is even more true in this centennial year. Sorry, I'm losing my earpiece here. We said it before, we cannot really celebrate 100 years of insulin without also raising awareness, raising our voices, going out there and advocating for the unmet needs of people with diabetes. We've seen Emma's piece, we've seen Priyanka presenting the T1D index. Millions of people living with diabetes, thousands of people every year dying still due to lack of insulin, lack of care. One of the organizations most vocal around the topic of access to insulin is T1 International, and it is my great honor to now welcome Elizabeth Feister, the founder of T1 International. Liz, great to see you. Welcome to Doc Day.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful to hear from all the speakers.
Yes. Liz, T1 International is probably most known for its Insulin for All campaign. It's based on a hashtag that was launched a couple of years ago by the IDF. I think the claim was put the world back in World Diabetes Day. And this is what we're discussing with the IDF today and in general, put the world back into World Diabetes Day. T1 International is also really, really active in the US. There you have a slightly different approach. You specifically target the issue of insulin pricing, a huge issue specifically in the United States. And we will kick this off by launching or showing a video that you recently launched that is addressing this issue. Let's show that.
Thank you.
Liz, wonderful video, very powerful message in the end, very controversial message as well. But this is exactly what we're here for. We said it very clearly, we can't celebrate without also advocating for access to insulin. Insulin pricing, specifically in the US, is a huge issue. It is an issue worldwide. We heard about this, access to care is an issue. This is why you work with a network of advocates across the world. Can you tell us more about your global advocacy network?
Of course, yes, thank you. And just to also mention that video is available in French, Spanish, and Arabic on T1 International's YouTube. T1 International is an advocacy organization, as is clear from the video, and I think really the video speaks for itself in terms of the global situation. It's a snippet, of course, but as we've heard from different speakers today, the reality is so many people should be alive and living a full life with diabetes, and they simply aren't. So what T1 International does really, I'm a patient. I've been living with type 1 diabetes since I was 4 years old, and although I grew up in the States and had access to the things that I needed, I did struggle with the cost and the affordability. And I moved to the United Kingdom, 10 years ago now, and experienced the national healthcare system here, and was really shocked to see that and to experience a system where health is viewed as a human right. And so what we do as an organization is really try to work with patients all around the world for us to come together and stand up for our health rights, and to really look for tangible plans to make sustainable change. Donations of insulin and supplies are life-saving and needed to keep people with diabetes alive. But as we know, living with type 1 diabetes especially is a 24/7 condition, and without insulin for the rest of your life, you won't be able to live, and that's just the reality. So at T1 International, we want to find long-term sustainable solutions that mean no one has to rely on donations. And we work with advocates who you're going to hear from a few in just a few minutes, because I fully believe that they can share and talk about their advocacy way better than I can. But we help them create tangible plans to make change in their local community, whether that is about insulin affordability or test strips, or just helping people understand and be aware of the condition. And we also bring this global community together. So while we're kind of fighting our local fights, we also are really emulating in some ways the HIV and AIDS movement that managed to lower the cost of antiretroviral drugs. And we want to do the same for insulin. We know that people living with diabetes have the most power and the most ability to make change. And so coming together as a global community, and we've done that through the Insulin for All campaign that you mentioned, Bastian, and we're going to continue bringing folks together and raising our voices until things change, because it's outrageous that 100 years after insulin was discovered, that so many people are struggling and dying without it. So that's just a little snippet about what we do, but you can learn more at our website. And I just really appreciate the ability for us to be here and show our video and share the voices of our advocates.
And before we do that, Liz, let me just ask you, you rally around that hashtag mostly, Insulin for All, but you also run summits. You've developed a toolkit. How do you reach out? Where are all your advocates? How do you find them? How do they find you? How do you work together?
That's a great question. Thank you. So while the Insulin for All hashtag is significant and is one way that folks find us, you're absolutely right that, you have to have internet to access the Insulin for All hashtag. And so we work with advocates on the ground. We share out hard copies of our toolkit and provide, when possible, COVID pending, trainings, and really try to connect with folks in whatever way we can. We have folks kind of going out to reach networks that can't be activated online. And again, finding the ways that we can to make things as accessible for the community as possible. And we understand that you have to have some degree of privilege to actually be able to advocate, because if you're battling to get your basic needs met, it's difficult to have a lot of time and space to advocate. So we really do try to focus on that community, and that every little thing that anyone can do will make a difference. So we do various forms of outreach, and we hold both virtual and in-person workshops regularly throughout the year. Again, yes, both with our US network, but we have programs around the world. One of our flagship programs is called the Pamoja program, with advocates from 6 African countries. And we've done several in-person leadership building trainings with them. And actually one of those advocates, Tapi, is on the call today. So you'll be hearing from her later.
Exactly. There is actually quite a bit of overlap between advocates involved with your T1 International and with the Insulin for All campaign and in the dedoc Voices program, Tapi being one of them, Tino from Zimbabwe being another one, and many, many more. And I love that this is all coming together, rattling around the same cause. You mentioned it yourself, you have great advocates all over and you wanted to bring them here. That was a bit last minute, but you brought a video where they speak for themselves. So let's show some of the T1 International advocates from around the world in a short video showing now.
Prioritization of people with diabetes would mean acknowledging diabetes as a life-threatening condition, considering subsidizing diabetes medication as it is with the AIDS levy, thus ensuring affordability and access, workshops to equip our healthcare professionals with up-to-date information on the management of diabetes, above all, empowering the diabetic patient to manage their own condition.
Being able to have access to healthcare professionals with knowledge in diabetes could significantly impact the outcomes in my country, taking into account people living with diabetes require multidisciplinary care to be able to have physical, emotional, mental, and nutritional health. People living with diabetes at some point or various in their lives may present distress, burnout, depression, amongst other conditions that could impact their daily management. Being able to have access to healthcare professionals with knowledge in their condition could help them not only have a better relationship with their condition, but also their bodies, their mental health, and their treatment, allowing them to feel safe within their own bodies.
Prioritization of people with diabetes would be like giving enough confidence to people that they can openly live their lives to the fullest. No stigma, no myths, no misconception or discrimination would follow them at any place, be it their workplace, family, or life after marriage.
Real action on diabetes and affordable insulin in my country would look like no young person being afraid to dream because their parent can't afford to buy them insulin. It would also look like that young lady from a remote part of the country not having to worry about waking up in a hospital bed in diabetes ketoacidosis because her parent can't afford to buy her the insulin that she needs while taking care of her other siblings.
100 years since the discovery of insulin, many governments till date lack policies on selection, procurement, supply, pricing, and reimbursement of insulin. Monopoly and markups in the supply chain affect the final price to the consumer, a consumer who can die without that life-saving drug. A real action on diabetes requires unique solutions so that every child can have a dream and live up to those dreams, so that no kid living with diabetes has to ration his insulin just because of financial constraint. Diabetes wasn't my choice, but my choice is to voice for real action, to hold our governments accountable, because healthcare is a human right.
Liz, strong voices, strong messages from your advocates from around the world, last from Apurva, from India. Thank you very much for this idea, for bringing them here to the Doc Day stage. Great to hear from them directly.
Yes, so glad to hear from so many voices, both in the presentations today and looking forward to hearing from those coming up next.
And let's do that. Liz, thank you very much. Liz, Elizabeth Feister, Liz, I always say, from T1 International, the founder. Thank you for joining us at Doc Day. Please stay on the line. I might have a question for you later on in the panel. But let's go to our dedoc voices now. And as we just ended with the T1 International voice from India, we start with Nupur. Nupur Nalvani from India. How are you doing? Nupur, we already saw you today very quickly in Marlin's presentation about the DCB Innovation Award, where you made it to the last 5, to the finalists. How are you doing?
Very well, Bastian. Good to see you online, and it was great to meet you as well.
Nupur, let's start in India. You are the founder of the Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation. You were, as I said, on this innovation challenge. But normally what you do is you also rally around issues such as access. What do you do today on World Diabetes Day? What are the topics in India? What is the situation around access to diabetes care in this huge country that is so big, so diverse?
Thanks, Bastian. So today we did a Facebook Live with our community, our online community of close to 7,000 people living with diabetes on Facebook. But the conversations have been ongoing. You know, we really sort of haven't focused it just for today. Over the past few weeks, we've also, had meetings with the local government, with the Chief Minister's office. So there's lots doing and lots happening. And the numbers, in fact, in India are truly mind-boggling. I mean, over 77 million people living with all types of diabetes. World leader in diabetes, only second to China. 2030, we expect to have over 98 million. So it's pretty crazy, the amount of people that live with diabetes or are at risk for diabetes, and these numbers are multiplying very quickly. So while World Diabetes Day and while marking 100 years of insulin is something to truly appreciate, and it is a mark of the grit and the survival that we've all experienced. It's also a stark reminder of the current diabetes landscape in India and other low and middle income countries that really experience firsthand the brunt of non-communicable diseases like diabetes, and we see this happening every single day. Of course, we know that diabetes can happen to anyone at any age, for people from any socioeconomic background. There are lots of myths and lots of misconceptions. Diabetes has always been known as the rich man's disease, and ironically, that's really far from the truth. So it's not just one thing. It's also a really complex whole web of social and cultural issues that people in South Asia especially have to deal with. Right from finding a partner to having babies, every single thing impacts diabetes management, and these are particularly unique, to this part of the world. And last but not the least, I think the financial burden of living with diabetes, and in India, we pay out of pocket for every single thing, insulin, CGM, pumps, everything's out of pocket. So it's a real drain for everybody living with diabetes. And I think that every family living with diabetes has the right to live with dignity and must be able to access quality healthcare, without really breaking the bank. And it shouldn't be a financial burden the way it currently is. So I think this is where the power of communities come in. And thank you for having us here today, Bastian, dedoc, IDF Europe. It's incredible, and more power to communities and people living with diabetes. Thank you.
Nupur, thank you very much. And what you were saying, paying out of pocket in India, you personally, we've known each other for years, but met for the first time face to face just 2 weeks back. And sitting there having dinner together, talking about the situation in India, it's mind-boggling, and insulin for all is a far distant future still for people like you, your community, the 7,000 you have in the Blue Circle Diabetes Foundation, and the 77 million you said in the country alone. That is almost the size of Germany.
That's right.
Nupur, thank you very much. We will move on and go to meet Jeremiah B. Cooper. He is joining us from Ganta, that is 3 hours west of Monrovia in Liberia. Jeremiah, can you hear us? Do we have Jeremiah on the line?
Hello, how are you?
Jeremiah, there you are. Wonderful. Hello, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, you?
Jeremiah, you're joining us from Ganta, east of Monrovia, from Liberia. You are our very first dedoc voice in the whole country, in Liberia. We met about 2 years ago on another summit we were discussing, and you were telling me about your diagnosis story. Can you wrap that up in just a few minutes and tell people how you were diagnosed, because you have a direct relation to life for a child as well?
Yeah. All right. Okay. My name is Jeremiah B. Cooper, and I'm a nursing student at the United Methodist University. I was diagnosed 2014 during the Ebola crisis. And then first I was misdiagnosed. The doctors felt I had something like typhoid. And then they did a series of tests only to know that I had diabetes. And then at first, it was like a dream for me, like, what is diabetes? I don't even know what is it. And then my father said, this is a very rich man's sickness. Where are we? What do we have to support this kind of sickness. So we went on, and I never accepted that I had it, and I started living my normal life. But then things started to change in my life. My body started to decrease, and other activities started to drop. So my father and I put hands together and then started supporting me with the medication, though it was very much expensive. I can remember at first accessing even the test strip, the meter was very expensive. So we just used to be doing it like that. Whenever I feel something, like I say, oh, I'm feeling something in my diet, I say, maybe you can go take your insulin. That was how we were on it till 2 years later. I had an opportunity to come Kanta. There where I met Life for a Child. And then I started getting medication from Life for a Child till now. And then me getting the medication, I can remember what I passed through before meeting Life for a Child was quite hectic for me. So I started to think about other people that are in Liberia who is being diagnosed and don't know Life for a Child. Maybe like, because Life for a Child, let's say just in few places, maybe like Kanta and other places. And we have so many counties and various states in Liberia who don't know Life for a Child, who have not heard about Life for a Child, who is even diagnosed with diabetes, but they are afraid to come up like to say I have diabetes, because we in Liberia believe that diabetes, as for me, I believe that when I had diabetes, I felt that I'm different from every other person in the country. I felt that there is no hope for me, nowhere anymore. I said I would stop my education. I started feeling bad at first, but it was through the hand of God and my father keep encouraging me. So I start thinking about those that are like me now, who don't have the support, who don't have the hands, who have not met Life for a Child, who have not heard about them, because Life for a Child is just in few places like Kanta, I think other hospitals in Monrovia, but then they are not in other regions in Monrovia. So I start thinking about some of them. I start to worry about my other friends, maybe that I don't know, who have diabetes in other counties and states. So I start to do something like or awareness from my campus, try to carry on an awareness with some of my friends, try to encourage people, telling the health, the awareness of diabetes, in a sense. Like we started what we call classroom awareness, where we will go from each class and try to give people a few tips on diabetes, how to encourage yourself when you have this disease, or how to get tested when you have this disease. And that was how my friends and I came together. Although I'm the only person that have diabetes among them, but they have the passion of working with people who has diabetes, because we all are nursing students. So I started working with them, and then we came together and funded a group that we said it is called, because I was one part of, I attended dedoc before. So when they talk about paying it forward, I said, but then I think I could just go under the umbrella of dedoc and pay it forward, like opening an awareness group in my country where we could talk about diabetes and other issues more to our brothers and sisters who don't have the ideas, who don't have the knowledge, and even who don't have the supplies. Even though we don't have the hands of giving them the supplies, but I think just by giving them the message about diabetes and teaching them other educational part about diabetes, for me, I believe that we will help them a lot. So that was how my friends and I came together, and then we started talking to other people in Kanta, but we have not really gone through Monrovia per se. We just stopped Kanta. Every time we go out and then talk to some other people about diabetes, those that have it and those that don't have it, we teach them the educational aspect of it. So that is how we have been doing things for some time now.
Jeremiah, what I love about your story is, and you just mentioned it, you said pay it forward. This is the motto of our dedoc Voices program, our scholarship program. You were our first dedoc voice from Africa. What I love about your story is you've been you've been kind of rescued, saved through the Life for a Child program. Then later on, you decided to go to Ganta Hospital to become a student nurse, to learn more about diabetes so that you could educate others. And now you're kind of starting a local, dedoc community in Ganta Hospital with a couple of friends to do more. And I felt the first time we met, I made this almost stupid mistake. In Germany, in Europe, dedoc is very much about peer support, which means reaching out to other people with diabetes, having conversations, talking amongst each other. And I remember I asked you, so, with this group of friends you have, the other people with diabetes that do you talk about this and that? And you were like, but you don't understand. I don't know anybody else with diabetes. They all die because they didn't have Life for a Child to support like you had in the beginning. And I thought it stopped me there for a moment. And I think it's great that you're taking your own experience, you are on the receiving end from Life for a Child, you're turning it full circle, you're working with one of the great doctors at Ganta Hospital to now pay it forward to others, working with Life for a Child, bringing that program to more and more people in your country, in your community. Thank you really very much for doing this. This is what our motto, Pay It Forward, stands for. Learn something, receive something, pay it forward to somebody else. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Jeremiah B. Cooper from Liberia, our first dedoc voice in that country, and I think one of the prime examples of that paying it forward doesn't only always mean social media and posting, but really doing work on the ground in his local setting. I think what he's doing is tremendous. It's exceptional. It's amazing. Thank you, Jeremiah. With that, we stay in Africa. We turn to South Africa and to Tapi. Tapi, it's great to see you here. You are paying it forward in a very different way, but also in that way. You are, first of all, I have to say, you are the Instagram queen of the dedoc community, and I think you'll be participating in the Blue Balloon Challenge and get the whole country to rally behind it, because I've seen your posts from our last conferences. How is South Africa dealing with World Diabetes Day right now? What are you advocating for? How are you celebrating this day?
Okay, so today hey, hello everybody, and I'm very happy to be here today. So today we had like a diabetes dance in which we partook in. If you go to my stories, you'll see me dancing and making a fool out of myself, but oh well. And then we also had a diabetes summit just this past week where we were discussing about the public sector in South Africa and how we have to deal with things in South Africa in terms of the public sector, because we have two different sectors, which is the private sector and the public sector. So the private sector is people on medical insurance, and the public sector is people who get their medication for free from the government. Yeah.
Davi, you were talking before about how difficult it is to switch between the private insurance, the public insurance, paying out of pocket, sometimes getting support. What's the overall situation like in South Africa? Do you know?
So in terms of South Africa, the overall situation is that we are very fortunate because we have access to diabetes care as a whole. But, having access doesn't mean that it's perfect and it's free. And that's another thing. And obviously that comes with a lot of limitations, being that, we have 11 different languages in South Africa. So coming up with a policy just in English is not going to help people in the rural areas who don't understand English. And then secondly, our health systems are very different in each province. We have 9 different provinces in South Africa. So each province has a way of dealing with their health system. And also another big problem that we are facing in South Africa is the lack of resources, the lack of diabetes education, the lack of things that help us. It is free, and getting insulin is free and your medication, but it's not adequate. It's not enough for everybody. And at the end of the day, you need to depend on donations from family members, or like I have to donate to my aunt, because I get enough insulin and enough testing strips, but not everybody has that. And due to the fact that there are new technologies emerging, our medical insurance is not fully covering all these new technologies. So that is also still a very big issue. And you find that people like me, I still have to go and purchase a CGM, and that is not feasible for me because I do pay for a medical insurance. So it's an extra amount on top of an amount I'm paying already as a substandard. So for South Africa, there's still so much to do. Insulin for all is solved, but it's not adequate for everybody. And at the same time, we are using generic products. We also face huge budget constraints in South Africa due to, other things, whereas our National Treasury Department has to, separate themselves into the different departments in South Africa. So it is quite tough.
Tabi, what we wanted to do here at Doc Day when we talk about access, and especially access in what we call the Global South, is to show how different, access means different things to different people. We heard that before. It of course also means different things in different countries. And we wanted to show how the differences are from Nupur in India to Jeremiah in Liberia to you in South Africa. And you already talked about the complexities, that insulin itself is solved, but there's a lot more to it. What we'll do now is we'll go to join Paul Louis in Madagascar. And Paul Louis is also working on access to diabetes care in Madagascar. And Paul Louis, you just arrived today, I believe. Yesterday we were still chatting and you were about to board the plane.
Hello, Bastian. Hello, everyone. I just arrived in Madagascar during the night. I will speak about the situation there, and I'm very lucky to be born in France, because in France we have access to everything, and it's covered by the government. Here in Madagascar, it's very different. If you're not able to get insulin with some local NGOs or to pay it, the reality is that you die. So the work I do in Madagascar is trying to support them to build a more sustainable model on access to diabetes care. So for this, I work with a local association, which is called Amadia, and they have a few clinics. And when I started this project, the idea was not to create something on my own, but it was to support local organization and like to put some oil in the motor to make things more efficient. So when we started in 2017, there was about 150 kids with diabetes. And now we have about 250 kids with diabetes. So at this time, Amadia was receiving some donation from people, like a donation of insulin, donation of test strips. The problem with donation is that it's not sustainable. So there was at this time there was insulin rationing. There was like people with diabetes are testing their glycemia maybe one time every 2 weeks. So there was no insulin adjustment. And in 2018, I started to speak with Graham, and we agreed that we would do something for Madagascar. So in 2019, we organized everything. I was in Madagascar. I worked with Amadia to organize the Life for a Child program, and we started this program in 2020. So as I said before we started, there was about 150 children supported with donation, but with insulin rationing. And now in 2021, we have about 250 children which are included in the Life for a Child program, and so they receive all the insulin they need. They receive also at least 2 test strips a day, and now we do also A1C, which is totally new for Madagascar.
And Louis, if I can just jump in, there's one thing you forgot to say. You know, you're not a professional. You don't do this as your job. You're getting in touch with Madagascar. I remember you told me this a couple of years ago. You were a professional athlete and a successful engineer. You went to Madagascar for swim training, and then you saw the situation on the ground. You met people with diabetes, and you dropped out of your job. And since then, you've been doing this almost full time, right?
Yeah, so I was, no, it was not for professional training I was there, it was for the wedding of one of my best friends. So I was in Madagascar, and yeah, I decided to meet some local doctors and to see what was the situation. And then, yeah, I decided to support them. So at this time I was quitting my job. I decided to dedicate part of my time to work on access to diabetes care in Madagascar.
And you're telling us now that the situation is super complex because it is much more than just the access topic. You're basically having to build the whole system from scratch, right?
Yeah. So for this, as I said, I work with a team of local doctors called Amadia because the idea is to support local organization, and they have to do the work on the ground. So I support them by helping them coordinating programs. I help them with my experience in project management. I find some partners to build this sustainable model. So the situation is very difficult because it's much more than just insulin access. It's about test strip access. It's about also diagnosis. It's about lack of medical staff. There is also lack of medical staff. You have also lack of training. There is also a difficulty with remote area. So remote area is a big problem because it's very difficult to access. With medical team, so it's people in these areas that just die undiagnosed, and also if they are diagnosed, it can be very challenging sometimes to send some insulin or test strip. So this is something that we are starting to work on because now we have Life for a Child. As I said, in Madagascar now we are supporting about 250 children. We have a capacity to support at the moment 400 children that can be increased when we will reach already these 400 children. But despite we have all this insulin now and test strip, we still haven't reached these 400 children because of all the challenges I spoke about before.
And that's why you're back as of tonight. And how long are you staying?
So I will stay there for the next 2 months, and I will be back also a few months next year. And something very important is Life for a Child. The reason why I bring Life for a Child in Madagascar is because I think Life for a Child is a wonderful program to build a sustainable model. So the Life for a Child model by itself is not, it's not sustainable because it's still donation. But the Life for a Child program unable to train the doctors because doctors before they were not used to use test strip. They were using one test strip every 2 weeks. So with this you cannot do insulin adjustment. So now that we have at least 2 test strip a day, the doctors they have to learn how to use test strips. They have to learn insulin adjustment. So this Life for a Child program, it enables to train doctors, it enables to test new practice, and it's a big challenge to bring a program like Life for a Child in Madagascar, but it's also a big opportunity to build this this access to diabetes care.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, Louis, thank you very much for joining us for Doc Day. Thank you very much for joining us just after touching down in Madagascar. Best of luck for the next 2 months in working on getting Life for a Child further off the ground. I think it's amazing what you do. So we heard from Nupur in India. We heard from...
If I can say...
Yes?
If I can say something, so I will post some videos in the coming days about the work we do, and Facebook page, Diamove. So I will try to show a bit the situation in Madagascar and what we do to support access to diabetes care.
That would be wonderful, and we will make sure to share that on our Facebook and YouTube and Insta and Twitter channels. Thank you very much, Paul-Louis. So from Nupur in India, from Jeremiah in Liberia, from Tapi in South Africa, from Paul-Louis right now in Madagascar, we've went across to visit some of our dedoc voices in the areas to talk about access to diabetes care. We went a little bit over time, but I thought it was very, very well worth it. I think we'll have to cut the panel discussion a bit short, but let me get back to Priyanka, if you're still there, Priyanka. Hearing from our dedoc voices, and as they're reporting about the situation on the ground, hearing from the advocates from T1 International before, how do you expect the T1D index will help advocates like these to become more effective in what they work, in what they do?
Thanks, Bastian, and thank you everyone for sharing your experiences. And you're absolutely right, Bastian, that's what we want to do. The T1D index is actually, we hope, will become a tool that these advocates on the ground can use to actually demand change. Because as everyone's shared from all their different experiences, there's huge gaps around, and huge variation in the quality of care that people living with type 1 diabetes can access. And part of what the T1D index will do is support people through resources that we will be pooling from, not just JDRF's Beyond Type 1, Life for a Child's work, but any other good resource and information that we have will make it available through the Type 1 Diabetes website. And we want these organizations and these advocates that exist to come together in this global network. So where we can encourage it, peer support, working, sharing knowledge, and sort of banding together to share the tactics that work, so that, where, we can drive change, say experiences in Mali, if they can help someone in a different African country, we are working with organizations in India as well. So, we take all these ideas and sort of cross-pollinate them to make sure that together as a global community, we can get the best outcomes for the type 1 diabetes community.
Thank you, Priyanka. And as I said before, we really look forward to seeing that toolkit, that T1D index launch, and then work with it across the globe. Liz, if I can get to you as well. We've seen quite a few comments now coming in of people who want to get involved, who want to do something. And we mentioned it before, I think you developed this toolkit. What would be your advice on how to start? Because there's many people who say, what actually does it mean to be an advocate, and where does one start? And you have a lot of experience in that. What's the one thing you would tell people, where and how do you start?
Yes, I would say anyone can be an advocate. You just have to dive in. And whether you have many hours every day or a very little bit of time, I'd say the best place to start is the T1 International website. We have a whole section of resources. And if you go on the website and you still feel a little bit overwhelmed, you can reach out directly to our team at contact@t1international.com. And we can point you in the right direction, depending on what you're most passionate about in terms of advocacy, whether that's doing a little bit on social media at first, or we're actually creating a very tangible plan. Our toolkit and advocacy tools really help you lay out how to make a step-by-step plan and to get the support from us to not be as overwhelmed. We also just launched a very short, it's about 40 minutes in total, a video that you can watch that, again, kind of lays out some initial steps of how you can start to advocate wherever you are. So I know you said one thing, that's a couple different options, but really, really keen to have anyone and everyone dive in and support all these causes here today. And ours is one way to do that.
And peer support in general is so strong, just reaching out to others already active wherever they are by Twitter,
exactly.
Facebook. This is where we come from, this peer support, just supporting each other, and then it kind of goes on and on. Paying it forward, as we call it, is so powerful. Emma, let's get to you as for the last words here. Apart from joining the Blue Balloon Challenge, of course, which will contribute more funding to Life for a Child, what else can people do to support your work, to raise awareness after hearing all of this?
Oh, thank you, Bastian. No, I think there are a multitude of things that people can do. We can be followed on our Instagram page. We can be reached out to by volunteers who are keen to get involved. Whether you're a person living with diabetes who's keen on making local kind of impact on the fundraising side of things, whether you're a person living with diabetes who may have some skills in the healthcare professional setting, we are reached out to by many healthcare professionals who are keen to kind of apply their expertise in local settings. And I'd just like to also talk about our art competition, which is live now on our website. We've received a number of entries for an art competition that we have put together where people who are young people who are supported by the Life for a Child program have put together a visual, written, or even vocal depiction of what their lives are like living with diabetes. And so we've put those entries up on our website, and that is now open for a kind of public voting. And I would encourage people to have a look at that and vote on their favorites.
And that will certainly do. Thank you, Emma. Now, I have to apologize for going over time again. This happens to me at almost every Doc Day, I think, but I hope you found it worth it. Everybody contributing, everybody watching it. This concludes our very special, first ever special edition on World Diabetes Day, our Doc Day. I have a couple of thank yous. First of all, I would like to thank IDF Europe for co-hosting this event with us, Elizabeth and Niti in particular. I would like to thank our many partners. First of all, Medtronic and Mirai with their Blue Balloon Challenge, and then Lily and Antonella was speaking here with about the Leonard Award, both of them doing massive contributions to Life for a Child, the organization we just heard from. I would like to thank the Diabetes Center in Bern and Marlin, who was presenting the Innovation Challenge. It was great to be your community partner throughout this year. I would also like to thank Diaboloop. They have been supporting this event specifically. Thank you very much for making this possible for us to be here, host this event, broadcast live. Diaboloop in France. I would also like to thank all our Doc Day speakers. So that's Niti and Emma and Priyanka and Liz specifically. And of course, all our advocates and the dedoc voices, the advocates we've heard from T1 International and the dedoc voices in Europe and around the world. You've heard it before. Here at dedoc, we believe that everyone can be an advocate. This is why we created this dedoc Voices Scholarship Program. If you haven't heard about it yet, please do check it out on dedoc.org on our website, and maybe you will apply next year to join us on one of the diabetes conferences. For everybody watching, I hope you enjoy Doc Day. Please follow us on our socials on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We have a lot of exciting things coming up in the next year, more campaigns, more Doc Days, and a couple of surprises in store. This is dedoc. This was Doc Day. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.